Hey everyone, and welcome back to Latindian Style. We're switching things up a bit this time around. We actually got an early screener of Faultline, courtesy of Vision Films. Already give it a scoop. I don't know if it's worth watching or if you should skip it. This the Miller's got more twists and turns than a mountain road. So buckle up. Let's get started. With the basics, this movie is all about Paige Tennant, played by Stacie Harrison. You might know her from Damnation. She's a high-powered lawyer headed back to her hometown for corporate merger. Seems pretty normal so far, right? Are you ready? Things are about to get really interesting and take a sharp turn into mystery lane. Paige come across some shocking new information that suggests her mother's death, which was ruled a murder-suicide 20 years ago. Might not be what it seemed. Can you imagine? Talk about a bombshell. We're dropping right in the middle of a business trip. To figure all of this out, Paige teams up with her sister Jessie, played by Kirsten Lankester from Guitar Lessons. They have to become amateur detectives and go through the past, chasing down clues to uncover the truth about their mother's death. And just a heads up, the trailer alone is enough to make it bite your nails. Speaking of the trailer, it drops us right into the action. We're talking a mind collapse, accusations going everywhere, and this creepy connection to Paige's mom. There are hints of a possible corporate cover-up, missing evidence, and someone who does not want the truth to come out. Oh, and there's one more thing. The trailer mentions a character named Darren McKay, and apparently you signed off on something major. But here's the catch. He was already dead when he signed off on it. Started by confusing, who was this guy? What was his role in all of this? This mystery just keeps getting deeper. Now the supporting cast is looking pretty solid. Well, with Harrison and Lancaster, we've got Stafford Perry, who's phenomenal in Black Summer, and Jill Norman Shaw. A lot of you will remember him from Supernatural. I always get excited to see actors I recognize from other genres take on new roles and thrillers. It just adds another layer of anticipation, don't you think? So what kind of vibe can we expect? Well, it's being marketed as a thriller, and IMDb also tags it as crime, drama, and mystery. Be prepared for a roller coaster of emotion as you go through twists and turns. And I'm guessing some pretty intense courtroom drama, December 10th. That's the date to remember, because that's when this suspense-filled ride drops on VOD platforms. Now I know what you're thinking. Is it worth watching? Based on the trailer and everything we've seen, I'm leaning towards yes. It has everything you could want in a thriller. Corporate intrigue, family secrets, a race against time. The cast I'm very intrigued by. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We did get that exclusive screener, which means we got to watch the entire movie. So stay tuned as we unpack all of our thoughts on Faultline and give you Latinian style verdict. All right, so we're back to Latinian style of order. We're going to dive deeper into Faultline now. And let me tell you, this movie had me hooked. From the very first scene, we already talked about the trailer and the basic plot. But after watching the whole thing, there's just so much to unpack. The whole thing that really got me thinking was how the movie tackles the theme of corporate greed. It's not just in the background, it's woven into the entire story. You see how power and money can corrupt, and how easily the lines get blurred when someone's trying to protect the bottom line. Think about Paige. She's a lawyer brought in for this merger, and it seems pretty routine at first. But the deeper she digs, the more it becomes clear that something is wrong. At the core of this corporation is like peeling back the layers of an onion, and with every layer, the smell of deceit gets stronger. Which brings us to another big theme, truth and justice. Paige and Jessie. These two sisters were practically strangers at the start of the film, and about together. By this quest to uncover the truth about what really happened to their mother, they are up against some serious power. People will do anything to keep the past buried. It's like a classic David and Goliath situation, where everyday people are fighting for justice against a system that's totally rigged against them. But it's not all about corporate intrigue and legal battles. Faultline also explores grief, trauma, and family dynamics. Both Paige and Jessie are deeply affected by their mother's death, but they've dealt with it in completely different ways. Paige, the driven lawyer, has buried herself in work. It's like she's running from the pain. Jessie, on the other hand, stayed in their hometown, haunted by memories. And unable to move on, their search for the truth becomes this catalyst for them to confront their unresolved grief. They need to learn to trust each other again, to lean on each other, and to forgive each other and themselves for the hurts of the past. It's a powerful journey of healing and reconciliation set against the backdrop of this super intense thriller. And talking about the past, Faultline also plays with the idea of memory and how much we can trust it. As Paige and Jessie try to piece together their mother's life, they start to question their own memories, realizing that time and their emotions have twisted even their clearest memories. It makes you wonder how our views of the past shape who we are today. It's subtle but thought-provoking, and it adds so much depth to the characters and the whole story. I know we're getting pretty deep here, but believe me, Faultline doesn't skimp on the entertainment. The suspense is masterfully done, with twists and turns that kept me guessing till the very last second. And the pacing is perfect, it never drags. But it also leaves space for these quiet moments that give the story so much emotion. And the ending, well, let's just say it's satisfying and thought-provoking. It wraps everything up, but leaves you with some questions, the kind that make you want to talk about the movie with a friend and analyze every single detail. I have to give props to the director, Anna Cooley, for her use of symbolism. Even the title Fault Line is such a great metaphor. There's the literal fault line, the mind collapse, that sets the whole story in motion. But then you have the emotional fault lines running through the Tennant family, secrets and resentment, that friend to tear them apart. And then there's the bigger picture, the fault line in society, the divide between the rich and the poor, the powerful and the powerless. It's this layered symbolism that makes Fault Line more than just your average thriller. But we're not finished yet. There's still so much to talk about, like the visuals, the soundtrack, and the supporting cast. So stick around, because we're going to look closer at all that in the next part of our Latinian-style deep dive into Fault Line. Okay, so we are back for the last part of our Latinian-style deep dive into Fault Line. We talked about the plot, the themes, even the symbolism. But now let's get into the stuff that makes this movie really stand out. The visuals, the sound, and the supporting characters, who add so much to this story. So let's start with the cinematography. I have to say, Anna Cooley, the director, has a real talent for capturing details. She uses these amazing wide shots of the rural landscapes to make you feel this sense of isolation, like the characters are trapped in this huge, unforgiving world. It's beautiful. It's also a little creepy, which is perfect for the overall mood of the film. And then there's the editing. It's super sharp and keeps things moving. The way the scenes are cut together keeps the pace going, and the suspense never lets up. The action scenes are so well edited. You get that adrenaline rush without it being too confusing or chaotic. But what really sets the mood is the soundtrack. It's haunting and atmospheric, with these melodies that stick with you long after you finish the movie. It's like the music itself is another character, adding to the tension and emotion of every scene. Okay, let's move on to the supporting cast, because they really do a phenomenal job in Fault Line. Stafford Perry, who plays Brennan Westlake, the CEO, is absolutely terrifying. He plays the corporate villain perfectly, and you can feel the tension coming from him in every scene he's in. Then we have Joe Norman Shaw, playing Joe Buchanan, the local sheriff. Just stuck in the middle of all this. He's kind of unpredictable. You never really know whose side he's on. Is he trying to help Paige and Jesse, or is there something else going on? Joe Norman Shaw does such a great job bringing this quiet intensity to the role. Keeps you wondering right up until the end. But it's not just the men who make this movie great. There are some incredible female characters too. Besides Paige and Jesse, Colette Mwachi plays Sophie Dale, this tough journalist who's a real force to be reckoned with. She adds this whole other layer to the story, reminding us that sometimes the truth is right there in front of us if you're willing to look for it. Let's not forget the younger actresses who play Paige and Jesse. In the flashback scenes, they do an amazing job capturing how innocent and vulnerable they were as kids, but also the fear and confusion they must have felt in the days leading up to their mother's death. Those flashbacks are crucial for us to really understand the sisters' relationship and the trauma that has shaped their lives. So we've talked about a lot, and I bet you're dying to know the final verdict. Is Fault Line worth adding to your watch list? My answer is a resounding yes. It's a captivating thriller with a clever plot, interesting characters, and amazing visuals that'll stay with you long after the movie is over. Fault Line doesn't just entertain you, it makes you think. It asks questions about corporate greed, how families work, and the power of truth. But there's something else that stuck with me after watching Fault Line. It reminds us that even though the truth can set you free, it can also be really hard to face. Sometimes uncovering the truth means facing things you don't want to see, facing your own demons, and realizing that the world isn't always so simple. So if you're looking for a movie that's both entertaining and thought-provoking, Fault Line is a must-watch. You can find it on VOD starting December 10th. Let me know what you think. Until then, stay stylish.